We are back with the Nintendo Sega Genesis controller that was just released by Nintendo for their Switch Online expansion pack. This one is still available on their website. It was restocked and it just doesn't seem to be quite as popular as this one. Understandably so. I mean, we got the 3-button controller. Seems fairly limiting in the sense, but there's some nostalgia here. When I first played Sega Genesis, this is a style controller that I used, but it would still be nice to have options to have a more versatile controller. I mean, there are options out there. Who are we kidding? If you want to play on the Switch or various other systems, we do have official Sega Genesis wireless controllers released in the US from Retrobit. I've reviewed all the variants of this, taken a look at this thing. Absolutely love this controller. But yeah, when Nintendo's name is on something that just seems so weird, I had to jump at the chance to take a look at it. It's an oddity to me. I'm really curious. So here's the box. Obviously not quite as heavy as the Nintendo 64 one. It's just not as big of a controller and doesn't have quite as much going on for it. So let's try to open this without ripping the box. I'm gonna tear this thing down if I can. Hopefully it shouldn't be an issue. But there we go, $50 for this thing. I find that kind of crazy, but you know, the curiosity in me, I had to get it. We get an official USB-C charge cable from Nintendo. Got plenty of those lying around. Not a big deal to have another one just in case, but here it is, man. It's a Sega Genesis controller. It feels like a Sega Genesis controller. It looks like an original Sega Genesis controller. It is very light. What is going on here? Tri-wing screws again. And we got 6 screws holding this thing together. So we'll open that up in a moment. Nintendo and Sega's logo together on a Sega Genesis controller. That just, I mean, that tickles it for me in a weird way. So there's that. I mean, it's not a complicated controller. Mode button, home button, the like screenshot, share button type thing, whatever that's called, USB-C for charging. Underneath are 4 lights to signify which player this is synced to, and then our pair button. So let's go ahead and change the angle and take a look at the insides real quick. Okay, here we go. Tri-wing screwdriver. I will fast forward through this. But yeah, want to see what the insides look like here. So let's get to it. And then we'll test it out. Okay, moment of truth. I don't think we have to worry too much about things falling apart like I did with the Nintendo 64 controller. If you haven't watched that video on my review and teardown of this, specifically, I wanted to take a look at the mechanism for the thumbstick. Take a look at that video. I'll put a little thing up there, blurry finger, like a Bigfoot, but let's open this thing up. It's going to be very basic. Not much going to be going on here. Let's get that mode button off of there. So there's that. Which one was that? Home button. There's that. And then the screenshot button. There we go. Is this screwed in anywhere? I gotta look close. Yes, there's a shit ton of screws. I was like, okay, we're gonna take this thing apart. But we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 screws. And all these have that little water thing to see if there's water damage to it. I guess if you need to get this serviced, and they were like, well, you were using this in the shower, dude. But okay, let's fast forward through this part. Okay, there we go. Unplug the battery. I'm assuming that's the battery. It is the battery. Look at that little tiny thing. There's the board. Just very, very basic. No rumble motor. You know, we don't got nothing special going on here. Decent looking membrane. So there's the board. Do we have any markings on here that say like Sega or Nintendo on it? Not that I'm seeing. Side B. Side A. Yeah, nothing crazy going on there. There's some screws there, so I'm kind of curious. Is that mounting the battery in there, or is the battery glued in? So let's take those 2 screws out. See if that's just like a battery mount. Oh yeah, that's to hold it in. So it's glued to this little you know what I mean. It's got an adhesive on it for this little battery. What is this battery is tiny, man. Nintendo branded lithium ion rechargeable 220 milliamp hour battery. There you go. The D-pad, it's screwed in on there onto the little pivot thingy. Let's see what that looks like. Just comes straight off. So there's that piece. Get that out of there. There's the membrane for the A, B, and C buttons and the start. There's that. Pull one of these out. Very nice. I mean, it's a Sega controller. 3 buttons. What do you expect here? I got, like, it almost seems like I got to put in more work to put this back together than I did the Nintendo 64 controller, even though that one's more complicated. But there we go. There's the D-pad, the disc for the D-pad, and a little pivot joint thingy where it, you know, moves around. Always like the Sega D-pad. Quite a bit, man, especially for fighters. But you know what? If you wanted to use this controller for like Street Fighter or something, it ain't gonna work. It's got 3 buttons. Like if they release Street Fighter on the service, like what's the point? Or any game that uses 6 buttons. Yeah, a lot of Sega games had, you know, 3 and 6 button configurations, but they were optimal with 6 button controller. Like why would you want to play a 6 button fighting game where you have to be gimped? I don't know, but it is what it is. I'm gonna get this put back together and we're gonna test it out real quick. There we go. Let's do it. Okay, so here we go. I got the controller put back together just fine, synced it up. And the one thing I have to point out is the Nintendo 64 one, when you pair it, it shows a Nintendo 64 controller for the icon. The Genesis one, a little disappointing. We don't get like a little Genesis controller down there. It just shows a Pro controller. And straight out of the box, the battery's almost dead. The Nintendo 64 one was almost fully charged. So hopefully we can get through this video, because I do want to test this out, the Sega Online stuff, and also that Sega Genesis Classic. See if this actually can be used for that or not. I mean, it's going to be very limited, but here we go. Let's do Streets of Rage 2. Ah, full Hadouken. Yeah, it's a very, very light controller, but it feels fine. I mean, everything is responding the way I'd expect it to. Latency doesn't feel too bad or anything like that. I mean, yeah, it's 3-button Sega controller, man. It's really not that amazing. The most amazing thing is that it says Nintendo and Sega on the back of it. That's it. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the Genesis Classics real quick. We know this is going to work on that just fine. I'm really curious with the Genesis Classics. Let's try Shadow Dancer. Let's see if these 3 buttons work as they're supposed to. Because if this is just being recognized as a basic-ass Pro controller, then, I mean, the configurations could be all over the place. I guess we could check what the buttons register as in the settings menu within the Switch in a second here. So this game should utilize all 3 buttons: jump, attack, and then your special. So let's actually see if that works. Nope. A is jump, B is attack, C does nothing. Okay, let's go to the settings menu. All right, A button registers as A, B as B, C as R. So that's one thing to note. You'll have to change your configuration within games if you want to, as this is going to register as R. Make sure if you're playing a Sega game, the C button is set to R, right? What does the mode button register as? ZR. Okay. And then the start button is plus. And that's going to be it. Like, there's nothing here. So A, B, R, ZR. Very limited controller. Very limited appeal here for what you're getting. Let me know what you think. Did you order one of these? I mean, it's an oddity. It's interesting, to say the least. But there you go. Those are my thoughts. Kind of expensive for what it is. If you have nostalgia for this style controller and you really see the appeal of playing the Genesis stuff on the Switch Online service, be my guest. Otherwise, I mean, realize that it's going to be very limited as far as other uses go. Appreciate you guys watching. Big ass blurry thumb butt like a Bigfoot. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.